Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed, all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. In the aftermath of the mass shootings that transpired in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio, President Trump has decided to come out with the proposal that violent video games are responsible and we need to do something about violent video games. In addition, your President Trump has talked about how we need to do more background checks and how we need to put the death penalty up for mass shooters. Now, when I take a critical examination of President Trump's proposals, they show me a man who is trying to deflect from dealing with the real issue as related to these mass shooters. And the reason why he wants to deflect from the real issue as related to these mass shooters is because he knows his major voting bloc, white women, would feel very angry if he were to come out and call them out and hold them responsible and accountable for this epidemic of mass shooters. Now, the statistics show that in 26 of 27 mass shooters, all of the white males who came out as mass shooters came from single mother households. So there's a clear correlation between these mass shooters and the white female single mother household, but your President Trump will not speak on that issue, nor will he come out to denounce white women about the way they have raised their sons and how the way they have raised their sons has led to this increase in these mass shootings and led to almost a mass shooting every day. So when I look at your President Trump, he is trying to avoid dealing with the issue of mass shooters, and it looks like he's joined Team White Supremacy in trying to deny the actual cause of these mass shooters, which is the feminist movement of the 1960s, which led to the creation of the welfare state, led to the creation of no-fault divorce in the 1970s, which broke up many white homes and led to the rise of the single-parent household. And the statistics on mass shootings show us that when it comes down to these mass shootings, almost 95 to 97% of these mass shootings all were done by men who either came from single-parent households, from out-of-wedlock births, or from divorced households, pointing a finger directly at the white feminist of the 1960s and pointing a finger directly at most white women who back in the 1960s were the ones who joined the feminists in saying they could raise a boy to be a man, and that they could not only raise that boy to be a man, they could raise that boy to be a better man than his father. But from all of these mass shooters, it's clear that the white woman has been proven that she cannot raise a boy to be a man, and that her socially engineered, kinder, gentler, softer beta male is not this perfect man that feminists proclaimed he would be. And what we have in his place of that kinder, gentler, softer man who would be better than his father is this socially engineered beta male, and that we have with this beta male, we have a male who is a ticking time bomb, and what's even scarier is no one knows when many of these ticking time bombs will go off or what type of violence they'll be capable of doing when they do go off, and that thanks to feminism, we have 2 to 3 generations of these ticking time bombs out here, and we don't know what they will do when they participate in a spectrum of violent behaviors. Now, your President Trump will not address this issue as related to this man crisis that has been going on here in America, and it looks like he wants to deflect because he does not want to alienate the white female voting bloc, the majority voting bloc that led to him winding up getting elected in 2016. And because he does not want to confront the white female, what he wants to do is bring up an argument talking about video games that was refuted way back in the late 1990s. Violent video games do not make children go out and participate in mass shootings, and stricter gun laws do not stop mass shooters, because it has already been proven by almost all of these mass shooters who bought their guns legally that it's not the gun laws that are the problem. It is the way boys are being raised here in America, and the way we are raising boys in these white female-headed households is guaranteed to produce a beta male, a male who submits to female authority, a male who has a hard time dealing with life in the world of men, and a man who winds up, when he has to be confronted with the world of adult men, winding up short-circuiting, malfunctioning, and then eventually winding up, after years of simmering and boiling in anger as related to his issues and insecurities about his masculinity, exploding in a rage where he participates in a spectrum of violent behaviors. And some of these males who have fallen apart due to their poor upbringing, these men go out here and participate in mass murders. And that is all due to the dysfunctional way they are raised in these single mother households, where they learned a feminist culture and where these men have learned to devalue their own masculinity, because in most American media, we have devalued the American man and American masculinity. And instead of confronting the real issues, your President Trump sidestepped the issue and went to deflect, just like a female would when a female is being held accountable or looks like to be held accountable. And this is par for the course as it relates to beta males. When a beta male sees a woman about to be held accountable for her actions, his action is to go and play the white knight and look for a way to defend the woman's honor and protect the woman from being held accountable for her irresponsible, reckless, and egregious behavior. Unfortunately, what your President Trump is doing right now is putting the nation at risk from a clear and present danger to Americans, because if we do not do something about this 2 to 3 generations of beta males, we are going to see more mass shootings go on here in America, because these beta males who have been raised in these white female-headed households are a ticking time bomb, and they are a clear and present danger to every American man, woman, and child out here, because these men do not have any sort of balance to them. They have no discipline, they have no self-control, they have no intangibles of manhood, because we in America have pushed a feminist culture over the 50 years, devaluing the American man, devaluing American masculinity, and we need to confront this issue head on, because the mass shootings over the last 3 years have increased, and we've had 250 mass shootings in 216 days. So that's over a mass shooting every day, and the situation is getting worse, and I predicted it would get worse, because again, we have had 2 to 3 generations of these men, and these men are malfunctioning and short-circuiting at a breakneck speed, and your President Trump's response to that instead of holding the woman accountable, is to participate in gynocentrism and look to protect the American white woman from her crime that she has committed, a crime that is putting Americans' lives at risk. And if we do not hold the American white woman accountable for the way she has raised the American white man, then the man crisis is going to continue to get worse in this country, and the mass shootings are going to increase in frequency, because it's clear to me that this situation is getting worse from the increase in frequency of the mass shootings and spectrum of violent behaviors. But the official response from your President Trump is to toe the party line of the GOP and deflect from the issue. And when I look at that action, it looks like team white supremacy all over again, looking to defend white women and looking to deny white women's accountability for their actions. This is no different than what transpired after Netflix's When They See Us came on, and many calls for Linda Fairstein to be held accountable and the NYPD to be held accountable were met with white supremacy quickly making up a brick wall, where the jogger herself then teamed up with Team White Supremacy to deny the problem, and quickly led to shut down any sort of debate as related to the Central Park jogger case, and led to people trying to silence everything, because that's what Team White Supremacy does whenever confronted with any sort of accountability for white women. Whenever white women participate in irresponsible behavior, the Team White Supremacy, led by the white males, then make up a defense line of white men who will then try to deflect by pointing at the violent white male first, then making a proposal to excuse the behavior of white women by saying it was something else. And in this case, we see the exact same thing going on, where they are pointing at the mass shooter first, then trying to deflect by talking about how it's violent video games. But the truth is, the real cause of all of these mass shooters is white women embracing the feminist movement, white women supporting the feminist movement, white women believing the ideology of the feminist movement, and believing the whole concept that they could raise a boy to be a man without a father. And we clearly see after 50 years the fruit of that action, that white women could not raise a boy to be a man without a father. And because 50 years of white men have not been raised without fathers, the guidance of fathers, or taught male life skills and survival skills, this is why we have an increase in mass shootings and an increase in the frequency of mass shootings, statistically proven by the statistics which are led to every mass shooting, which correlate a majority of them being made and perpetrated by boys who came from single mother households, and clearly showing us that it was white women's embracing of the feminist movement which is leading to the man crisis of today. And because your President Trump does not have the backbone to stand up and acknowledge the man crisis, sadly, more lives are going to be lost here in America. And America missed out an opportunity to show how courageous it was in a real effort to make America great again, because the only way we are going to really make America great is to acknowledge the man crisis going on here in America, and having the backbone and the stones of a generation of men to stand up to the American white woman and hold her accountable for the sad and pathetic state of American men today. Because it was white women who said they could raise a generation of boys to be a man, and it was a generation of white women back in the 60s who believed they could raise a boy to be a man without a father. Fast forward 2 generations later, and it is proven by these dysfunctional beta males today who participate in these mass shootings that women cannot raise a boy to be a man without a father. And until we acknowledge that white women cannot raise boys without fathers, and we don't acknowledge that we have a man crisis in this country, we're going to sadly see more violence, as your President Trump and those in Washington would rather deflect than acknowledge the problem of the man crisis in America today. If you'd like to learn why so many of these white males are malfunctioning, falling apart, and unable to navigate a course in life and cannot get up off your sofa, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback, Kindle, Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, and my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and coming to Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes' Dark Succubus. The man who rules the world is tempted by a sultry succubus in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes' Dark Succubus in paperback or pre-order on Kindle Unlimited today.